their work, but tonight we're learning they are trying to wrap up by tomorrow. But is that possible? The Senate was supposed to convene today to take up House bills ready for second reading, but that was pushed until tomorrow afternoon. The House just adjourned after an impassioned debate on abortion, including a vote on a total ban and a major change in the proposed surplus refund to taxpayers.
We start off with live team coverage at the Statehouse. Caitlin Kendall is monitoring action on inflation relief.
And Statehouse reporter Meredith Hackler is tracking the numerous amendments addressing abortion access. We begin first here tonight with Meredith.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Today there was an amendment that would have basically killed the entire bill and turned it into an outright abortion ban without any exceptions. Now, only 7 House members voted for that amendment, so it did fail. But there was another amendment that would have gotten rid of the exceptions for rape and incest, and that caused some very impassioned debates. Now, that also failed of a vote 61 to 39. Now, the way the bill is currently written, abortion would be banned in most cases. There are currently exceptions for rape, incest, life of the mother, and fatal fetal anomalies. Now, in cases of rape or incest, though, a woman has 10 weeks to seek an abortion, a point of contention amongst lawmakers.
If we keep the rape and incest clause in this bill, we are saying that it is okay to punish the child for the crime of the father.
What we are debating is whether or not rapists will be rewarded as dads, whether grandpas who molest their little girls will be fathers to their granddaughter's baby.
One major business organization weighed in on Senate Bill 1 today. The Indy Chamber said they feel lawmakers should slow down on making the decision. While they didn't take a stand on abortion, they do feel the process of the legislation is moving too fast. Now, I did reach out to the Indiana Chamber of Commerce to see if they had any comments on Senate Bill 1. Now, they didn't weigh in, and they didn't give their opinion on abortion either. Now, as we talked about, the House did just adjourn, and there weren't a lot of major changes to the abortion bill. The only thing that did change majorly was the effective date of the bill. Mark?
Definitely some impassioned debate that you were showing us there, Meredith. So Meredith, tell us what happens next with the abortion legislation. Do we still think this could finish up tomorrow?
Yeah, so lawmakers are continuing to say that tomorrow will be the last day of session, but it's going to come down to if the Senate agrees with the changes that the House has made to the abortion bill. If they do, they can adopt it and they can send it to the governor. But if they don't, there are a couple more legislative steps that have to take place before it could potentially become law, Mark.
Definitely been a tense 2 weeks. Our Meredith Hackler live at the Statehouse for us tonight. Thanks, Meredith. What lawmakers decide about abortion could impact the future of one of the city's biggest conventions. Gen Con started today, and leaders say they are, quote, deeply troubled about the proposed legislation. Gen Con says an abortion ban in Indiana puts a question mark on the convention's future in our state. Each year, Gen Con brings in up to 70,000 visitors to Indianapolis.
The House just adjourned after finally getting to inflation late this afternoon. WRTV's Caitlin Kendall continues our team coverage at the Statehouse. A long afternoon of waiting, Caitlin.
Yeah, it was a long afternoon of waiting indeed, Nicole. Over on the Senate side, in a shocking move, they canceled session today. But I will tell you, just about an hour ago, Rep. Tim Brown from Crawfordsville told the House the Senate came to them and pulled back on and agreed to give up the suspension on sales tax for utilities. That is a big move when it comes to where that bill stands. It is a pretty big one, and neither chambers have been able to agree on relief thus far. Now, Brown offered the big amendment to Senate Bill 2. It's a compromise between the House and Senate proposals. Hoosiers who filed tax returns last year would receive a $200 refund instead of the $225 refund that Governor Eric Holcomb proposed. Hoosiers who filed that tax return, again, might see that $200. It was approved in a vote of 67 to 28.
What it does is it makes the automatic taxpayer refund happen. It also adds that people can file for taxes in 2023 even if they didn't pay taxes, and they will get a credit back for that. The amount has been reduced to $200 per person, per taxpayer in the state of Indiana.
So we continue to take money off the table, so we don't give money back. So we're going to lower the money to give for the automatic tax refund for $200 down to $225, in which we could have just kept it at $225, which made a significant impact for people, along with the other individuals that may qualify for the $225. But we took it off and to park it away in the teacher retirement fund.
Now, many other Democrats did voice concerns about the amount being reduced to $200. The reasoning they say to lowering it to the $200 is because they're allowing for more people to apply to receive that credit. Now, we will continue to be following these amendments in both the House and the Senate and what that relief might look like to your pocketbooks. As for the Senate, we will have to wait until they reconvene tomorrow. One thing to note, we will be watching very closely to see if House Bill 1001 makes it through that reading. Rumors are that they've reached an agreement and it could be thrown out altogether. Something, of course, we're going to be keeping our eyes on when it comes to that relief that you might see for all Hoosier taxpayers. Reporting for you live at the State House, I'm Caitlin Kendall.
Caitlin, thank you. And Governor Holcomb's initial reason for calling this special session was to address inflation and provide relief to Hoosiers. We hear the word inflation all the time, but what is it and what causes it? We pose that question to UIndy finance professor Dr. Matthew Will.
Inflation is simply the cost of goods and services going up. So when you go to the store and you try to buy some bread or you put gasoline in your gas tank, the cost of that simply goes up. That's inflation. And you see it simply because you're paying more for everything you buy. And inflation is kind of a tax. It is a tax that government creates, and it reduces the amount of money you have, and thus we have inflation.
As Caitlin pointed out, there have been competing inflation relief plans throughout the special session. The bill passed by the Senate last week includes suspending the sales tax on residential utilities for 6 months. It would also cap the taxes we pay on gasoline. We're taking a closer look at how that would work and how it would help you. The Senate plan calls for capping what's called the gasoline use tax at 29.5 cents per gallon through June of next year. But here's the thing. Hoosiers have never paid that much, at least in recent years. The Indiana Department of Revenue sets the rate and has a list of the monthly rates going back to July 1st of 2014. The lowest use tax in that time period, 7.6 cents in June of 2020 at the height of the pandemic. The highest use tax is what Hoosiers are paying right now, 29.4 cents a gallon. That's below the cap on the gas use tax in the Senate's plan. And since the use tax is based on gasoline prices, which have been steadily decreasing, the gas use tax will likely be even lower in September. But the use tax is one of two state taxes on gas. There's also an excise tax, which goes to infrastructure and road projects. Right now, it's 33 cents and will stay that way for the rest of the fiscal year, which just began in July. The Senate plan would lower that tax by a cent. Bottom line, Hoosiers are paying 62.4 cents per gallon in state gas taxes right now. And unless prices skyrocket again, the Senate plan would address about a penny of those taxes.
The inflation relief plan Governor Holcomb favors is to return $225 to each taxpayer from the state budget surplus, and that could be lowered to $200 after the amendment passed in the House today. This would be the second surplus payment to Hoosiers this year. The first round of $125 payments was triggered by last year's state budget excess of $1.090 billion. Half of that went to the Pension Stability Fund. The other half went to automatic taxpayer refund. But the surplus this year is even more than expected, and that is why the governor called this special session to distribute an additional $1 billion in reserves. We asked Dr. Will if there's an easier long-term solution to let Hoosier taxpayers benefit from that surplus.
None of the proposals, the Senate or the House, addresses the long-term issue of a tax surplus, a tax surplus that should be fixed by tax reduction. The ideal solution would be a permanent reduction in the tax rate, whether it's income tax or sales tax or gasoline tax. That would be the real solution, because Indiana keeps producing these tremendous surpluses because of the positive business environment we live in.
Many Hoosier taxpayers still have not received their $125 payments and are wondering why. The Department of Revenue tells us there's a shortage of paper checks, but they say the state auditor plans to begin sending checks in late summer to eligible taxpayers who have not received their refund via direct deposit.
There's a clear divide between Republicans in the state House and Senate on whether Hoosiers should receive direct inflation relief payments. We asked our political insiders about the likelihood of you seeing more money in your bank account after lawmakers finish their work.
Being a former Senate Republican, I always want to pay down debt. And we've paid down, what, $3 billion this year or so in the unfunded liabilities of pension debt. And the state of Indiana constitutionally can't go into debt. And so I'm very pleased with how the Senate Republicans have addressed this. I think it'll be a compromise, and there will be checks. It really depends on how much the checks will go. I thought it's been time for the governor to be involved. Maybe he is with his staff and we just don't hear it. The three different entities, if you will, have to make a decision very quick, because as we know, the longer you're in session, the more the public disagrees with it.
My take on this is actually probably pretty crass, but I really don't think people are paying attention to the refunds. I don't think they're going to pay attention to the refunds. I think if they get a check, they'll be like, what is this for? But what they are paying attention to is what's happening with abortion. And unfortunately I think marrying these two together was probably not wise, because anything they do in terms of inflation relief is going to be totally overshadowed by abortion and the abortion ban. I don't think that Republicans are helping themselves at all in terms of doing these together, because I just don't think people are, I don't think they're going to care, and I think some people are going to be really annoyed by it, because it just seems as, oh, we're taking away your rights, but here's a check for $125.
Well, this is your chance to let us know what you think about the inflation relief options being debated by lawmakers.
Go to WRTV.com/vote now on your phone, tablet, computer, or through the WRTV app. Choose which option you think would help your family the most when it comes to inflation: the taxpayer refund, the gas tax cap, a utility tax holiday, or none of these. Right now, most people favor the refund. We will check back on these results later here in the newscast.
Still ahead now, how the president and other states are addressing access to abortion in the wake of Roe v. Wade decision, and the decision voters in one state made that some are calling surprising. Welcome back. Tomorrow, the Indiana House of Representatives plans to take a final vote on the abortion bill that has been making its way through the State House.
The future of abortion rights lies with each state after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, but President Biden says he will do what he can to preserve a woman's access to abortion. On Wednesday, he signed an executive order that paves the way for Medicaid to pay for women seeking abortion services outside of their home state.
Secretary Becerra is going to work with states through the Medicaid to allow them to provide reproductive health care for women who live in states where abortions are being banned in that state.
Now that the future of abortion is changing depending on where you live, we're taking a look at abortion laws in other states.
Yes, so let's start in Ohio. Abortion is banned after 6 weeks of pregnancy. In Michigan, it is currently legal. Abortion is legal in Illinois. In Kentucky, a near total ban on abortions was reinstated this week by a state appeals court. That ruling is being appealed. We also want to remind you what happened in Kansas this week. On Tuesday, a majority of voters there rejected an effort to amend the Constitution to ban abortion. And while some lawmakers were surprised, voters say they knew the stakes were high.
First and foremost, it's not just about Kansas women. This is going to be an example that's set throughout the whole U.S.
I was absolutely surprised, and I have no explanation. And again, it was just a gut punch. That's all I can tell you.
The landscape for how far lawmakers will go in restricting abortion is also being driven by internal Republican polling here in Indiana. That, plus the referendum results in Kansas this week, could change the debate during the special session. Our political insiders take a closer look.
Well, I haven't seen the poll. I've certainly heard rumors about it. It certainly has been lighting up my phone a little bit. Generally, when you don't like the answer to the poll questions that you were asked, you don't release those questions. So I think it's safe to assume that it's probably that the numbers that maybe some of these folks wanted to see are not there. We already know by the Bowen Center polling from 2017 that the majority of Hoosiers favor some type of that favor abortion rights in some way or shape. We also know that there's some 2020 polling out there as well. So it would be consistent with previous polling. I know there's always, how is a question asked and those type of things. But my general rule of thumb is that if you don't like the response you get to the poll, you don't release the poll. And on the flip side, you'll leak out poll information if you want to move your position forward.
I think it all matters. I think it's a factor, and that with the polling that the different caucuses have shared that information, and as well as going to the grocery and somebody stopping you, and it makes a difference. And this is an issue that Laura, you'll probably chuckle at this, but I've always heard, and I don't know if it's fact, but 11% are for, 11% are against, and then everybody else doesn't care. And I'm sure the polling is different these days, but you have this stress about you. And with this issue that I'm glad the Republicans are addressing are the social service part of it, because there has to be a safety net. Republicans historically don't do a good enough job with the social service end of it. Every legislator should go through a crisis pregnancy center, and we need to continue to address foster care and the adoption credit. And I think this is a great situation to make sure that if you're going to be pro-life, be pro-life.
Last week, hundreds of you weighed in, and most of you said that changes to abortion rights would impact the way you vote in the future. We spoke with a local expert who says issues that come up in the summer typically don't influence November elections, but abortion could be the exception.
This is an issue that's different. It's one of the few times where I would say, well, this is about as salient an issue as it is. If this issue doesn't break through, if this issue doesn't last until November, then there is no such thing. There is no issue that ever will. This issue breaks through. This issue breaks through people's partisan identifications. It breaks through their malaise and disinterest. And so if it's ever going to happen where an issue lasts, this would be it.
According to a Gallup poll from May, 85% of Americans want abortion to be legal in all or some circumstances. Dozens of state senators and representatives will be on the ballot in November's midterm election. We'll be right back.
We've been asking you about what form of inflation relief under debate would be most beneficial to you and your family. Hundreds of you have already weighed in, and about 70% say the $225 refund would help the most. About 18% say the gas tax cap would help the most. You can still vote by going to WRTV.com/vote now on your phone or computer. You can also find a link in the WRTV app. But something to keep in mind, some of those ideas have changed or been dropped altogether as these bills work their way through the State House.
Both the House and Senate will reconvene tomorrow. The House expects to take a final vote on the abortion access bill, and we are waiting to learn whether a final vote is expected on inflation relief.
The front page of our website is dedicated to coverage of the special session. See how everything is unfolding at WRTV.com.
We also have live coverage of all the relevant hearings and votes on the WRTV live stream. You can find our coverage by searching WRTV on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, Fire TV, and all other streaming services.
Of course, our team remains at the State House, staying on top of every development. We'll continue to bring that to you on air and online. So keep it here with WRTV and WRTV.com.
I was going to say, make sure to join us tonight at 11. Have a great night.